Welcome to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD. Word on the weekend.
So we really are interested in your story, Christina. And I know at one point during your life you had a serious health challenge, which we did in the intro.
Yes.
You were diagnosed with terminal leukemia.
Yes.
And you had an epiphany at one point and said to yourself, "Only I can make me well."
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a journey to get to that place. You know, when 2 years before I was diagnosed, my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I kind of watched her get sicker and sicker and sicker and go from a really vibrant woman to dying weighing 67 pounds. And certainly she had cancer, and certainly that played a role. But I just remember thinking that nothing helped her that everyone did from the outside. And my mother was what Italians like to call a crepe hanger, which is, you know, we always joke about a glass half empty and a glass half full, and I always say my mother didn't even have a glass. Like, if there was a negative side to something, she could find it and, you know, go there. So, and my dad, on the other hand, was this very happy Irish guy who had a dozen glasses that were all full. So, and he was very, you know, and still is very fit and all that jazz. And my mother, as soon as she was diagnosed, said, "That's it, nobody beats this, I'm going to die." But it took her almost 2.5 years to do that. And when she got toward the end of her life, I remember thinking to myself, man, if I ever get sick, I am not doing this. I am not doing it this way.
Right.
And so that was kind of the moment. I always say my mother taught me everything I wanted to be and everything I didn't.
Right.
Because I'm pretty positive. And so then when I was diagnosed 6 months later, I remember sort of looking up at heaven and thinking, geez, I was only kidding. And I didn't really expect to deal with this.
Right.
So, and all I could think of, you know, when you're in your early 20s, you're kind of not that bright.
Right.
And all I could think of was, oh my God, I'm going to lose my hair like my mother did. And then I'm going to die in the end anyway. So, and then I just remember thinking that, you know, most of my family like kind of pulls themselves up by their bootstraps and just does what they're supposed to do. So I thought, well, what the heck? They're not going to help me. They really had no solution for me. They said that they could try a few things and we'd see what happened, and maybe they could extend my life. And I remember thinking that that wasn't good enough for me. So I was going to see what else was out there. And I didn't know what I was looking for. I mean, I had no idea at all. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Robert, and he said, you know, you should try your food. And I remember thinking, well, he's cute, but, you know, seriously? If food was the answer, wouldn't the doctors have said, maybe you should change your food? Back then I was still quite naive in what they knew about nutrition and didn't know about nutrition. This is not a knock on doctors. I love doctors. But they don't study nutrition, and I assumed back then that they knew everything.
Right.
So if they hadn't told me about it, this must be, you know, some wacko thing. But I had nothing to lose, so what the heck? And within a month, I remember thinking that, and that's when I had the moment, Laura, when I said, you know what, if anybody's going to make me better, it's going to be me. Because I sensed changes in how I felt, even though there were no changes in my blood yet. My intuition was saying, you're the only one who can really make a change here. So pull yourself up by your bootstraps, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and get over it. And either move on or don't. And that's kind of, that sort of gave me a philosophy that I still live by to this day. You know, do it, feel it, get over it.
Right.
You know, either move on or wallow. And I'm not much of a wallower because you just don't get anything done then.
Right.
For our listeners, I want to make sure they understand this, that you were diagnosed with terminal leukemia. Is that accurate?
I was given 6 to 9 months to live. I had a condition called AML, which is an acute myelocytic leukemia.
Wow. And you overcame that with simply changing your diet.
Yes, because I didn't want to take treatments and get sick and lose my hair.
Right, exactly.
As it turned out, like now 29 years later, knowing what I know, I would say if someone was diagnosed, I would, if they have the time, if they're not in some acute or painful or, I don't know, a condition where they don't have any time, in my ideal world with an early diagnosis, you treat yourself with food for 3 months.
Right.
And then working with your doctor so that you build your immune system, you get your body stronger, you get your pH more alkaline, so that at the end of 3 months, if your condition hasn't changed and you need to take treatments, at least you're strong.
Right.
At least you'll survive them.
Right, exactly.
Christina, this is Michael Ledbetter. I have a question. listening to your story, I heard that you were a vegetarian, but yet you were still eating junk food. That's
Tons of it.
tons of
To
junk
this
food.
day,
So you were canceling out being a vegetarian by really
All
eating junk food.
Yeah, all I did was not eat meat. I ate everything else. And so even to this day, whether someone is a vegan or not a vegan, the biggest difference for me between veganism and vegetarianism and macrobiotics is that with macrobiotics came an understanding of if you eat this, it creates a certain physical quality and an energetic quality within you. And do you want that? Like macrobiotics taught me to eat for the purpose of my life, not just because I want an Oreo. Oreos are vegan, but give me a break.
Right.
We face collectively a huge challenge. And the joke in our office is that we get up every day and push a rock uphill, but everybody is pushing that rock together. Nobody wants to feel sick or compromised or lose their health, but they're lost. They really don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. And that's a big deal.
Exactly. So what is your prescription for health? What was it that Robert shared with your husband, shared with you?
The biggest thing he had me do, and the biggest change I made in those first few months was pretty much what I stopped doing. I was a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian since I was 14 years old. My father's a butcher. That's always a joke in our house. But, it's like, oh, great. But I lived on, my mother and her family, we cooked everything from scratch. We had a garden. I remember picking the vegetables and then cooking them. And when I left home at 18, I remember clearly saying to her, you can have this Donna Reed stuff. I am so over all this cooking. If I cook, it's going to be for a job.
Right.
Which I did. I catered. But I lived on soda, chips, pizza, ice cream. I didn't eat anything that was whole or natural or good for me. And and there is blood disease in our family, so within 6 years, here I am diagnosed. So what I did initially was, Robert said, I know you're vegetarian, but you eat X. You eat soda, yes. You do. So I stopped all junk, cold turkey. I'll go from 6 sodas a week to 1. Cold turkey, nothing. No sugar, no soda, no junk. And I started cooking all these foods that I knew what lentils were because I was Italian. But other than that, it was like, what are we cooking? Oh, this is miso. It looks like peanut butter. Okay, it's not. Okay, and there was no bread, no noodles, no fruit, no junk. So I was cooking all the time this food that to me tasted like cardboard because I was so chemicalized in my taste buds. And so his prescription was that it was whole, unprocessed, and seasonal. That was it.
Right.
And we used some things like fermented foods to improve digestion. And, we didn't even know that much in terms of what I know now and how you combine things and use certain foods because of their nutritional punch for certain conditions. We just stopped junk, ate whole, and since your blood is the first thing to change, that's where we saw the first change. And I was like, okay, we're on the right track. And so it was just whole, unprocessed, whole grains, beans, tons of vegetables. When I started this, I thought kale was the garnish on the salad bar. I think people ate it. So it was a big learning curve, a huge learning curve for me. I had no idea. I mean, we ate broccoli rabe and broccoli. That was it. We didn't eat, collard greens. And if I did eat collard greens, it was with my African-American girlfriend, who was my best friend since kindergarten, and they cooked them for 2 hours.
Right.
I was like, okay. Okay. I had no idea what a collard green tasted like. But that's what we all have to do. Like, we live in a world of Facebook and Twitter and phones, and none of that is a bad thing. Well, I don't know. Anyway, anyway. But we live in all that, but we have to be healthy as humans, we have to go back to the kitchen. We have to dust off the pots and cook the way our grandparents cooked. It doesn't have to be Asian. It doesn't have to be Chinese medicine. But if you look at the way your grandmother cooked, they were healthy. Yes, they ate meat. They weren't necessarily vegetarian, but their food was real food.
Exactly.
Right. It's not the same.